You're listening to Parasearch Radio, news, views and reviews from the world of the paranormal from across the UK and beyond. Find us on Facebook, Twitter and the World Wide Web. The views and opinions expressed by presenters and guests are their own and do not necessarily reflect the official policy or position of Parasearch Radio or their affiliates and sponsors. Listener discretion is advised.
Hey, this is Jeff Belanger, author, researcher for Ghost Adventures, host of New England Legends, and of course, beer drinker. And you're listening to PSH Radio with Sam and Carl on the Parasearch Network. They're broadcasting to you from Old England. You can tell by the accents.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to PSH Radio on a Thursday night. It's 9 o'clock. I'm Carl Hutchinson, and you normally hear the dulcet tones of my lovely co-host, Sam Mason. But she's not on tonight, and I send a personal, heartfelt love and respect to her at this current time. Sam will be back, but at the moment, taking a little bit of time off, but not into detail because that's personal. So I just want to send some personal love to Sam. And I'm sure everybody in the chat room, everybody listening will be also sending those messages to Sam. So on tonight's show, I get the fun job because I've known these two amazing guests for quite a while now. We've been on quite a few investigations. We've been one of the guests, which we'll talk about, has completely and utterly freaked me out on numerous occasions round her house. And the other guest experienced one of the most scariest moments of my paranormal, one of the scariest moments of my paranormal career. So, without further ado, I'm going to welcome Laurie Shaffer and Liz Kamel to the show. So, evening, ladies.
Hello. Been called a lot of things, but never amazing like that. Very nice.
Hi, Carl. That sounds really bad, scaring you around my house.
Well, yeah, we'll cover that quickly because we'll get on to the more interesting, the reasons why we got you on the show, because it's quite relevant to what you guys have been up to. But yes, there's been a couple of occasions where I've investigated with Liz. Liz is an amazing medium. Liz is also into her witchy stuff. How do I put this? Spirits of the earth, so paganism, so it's ground, air, wind and fire. And there's been a couple of times when we've done investigations, we've headed back to Liz's place, and I've basically been freaked the what sits out because things have been happening while I'm sitting there trying to relax after an investigation. So that's basically what I'm saying about Liz. And Liz will probably tell you a little bit more once we start talking to her. So, girls, just before we'll get the mundane stuff that everybody asks, but we'll just do it for a quick one. Just introduce yourself, tell us a little bit about yourself, how you got into the paranormal, and all that sort of stuff, and then we'll crack on to the more interesting stuff and the more interesting chat. Go. Whoever wants to go first. I'll tell you what, no, I'll choose. Laurie, go first.
Okay. Well, I'm Laurie, and you can tell by my accent that I'm from Warwick in the West Midlands, and originally from Ohio in the Midwest in the U.S., and I became involved at a really young age with the paranormal. My grandmother was from rural West Virginia, and that's a very, very... what's the word I'm trying to use? Where they're very, oh my God, I completely lost the word I want. They have a lot of beliefs in the paranormal and very superstitious. That was the word I couldn't think of. Late for me. I'm usually in bed by now. And so I started listening to all her stories at a young age and really, really got into it. And of course, when I moved over here, there's so many places to investigate and so many people to investigate with that it's how I met Liz and you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But one of the most amazing facts about Laurie, which a part that's not quite well known is your house. The location of your house.
Yes.
Tell the listeners about the location of your house, because this is incredible. Because when I've visited it once, picked you up, and we've gone on a couple of investigations from how close it is to this most amazing location and its tie-ins to your location.
Yes. So I live at the foot of Warwick Castle, across the river, in a cottage that was built in 1427 for castle workers. So for years it belonged to the Earl of Warwick, and it was on the only road into town, which is now a side road. But it was the only road into town from London, which means if the walls could talk, they could tell us about Henry VIII and Elizabeth I and all these, even just common people going to market up in Warwick every day. So it's really cool to live here. And the best part about it is that it is haunted. Liz has been here a few times. Our friend MJ has been here a few times. They're both mediums, and they both picked up the same things in the house, which has kind of freaked me out when it's, oh yeah, somebody hung themselves there and somebody had a heart attack here. And oh yeah, I see the ghost cat too, because there's a ghost cat in my house. So that's kind of a little freaky, but it's still pretty cool.
I must admit, when I first came to pick you up, and MJ said, "I'm going to pick Laurie up. She's near Warwick Castle." So I was thinking, "Oh, fair enough. She's going to be not that close to Warwick Castle," but she is that close to Warwick Castle. Literally, there's her house, the river, Warwick Castle. She has I've not been in the back garden, but she must have the most unbelievable views of Warwick Castle because she's that close.
Unfortunately, from the back of the house, I can't see the castle, but we get the sounds.
What's that then?
There's the old sawmill, which is somebody's mansion now. They've turned it into a beautiful home. And there's a lot of the houses that block the way. So I don't really get the view, but I get the sound of the peacocks. And every once in a while, an errant peacock will show up in my back garden. So.
Okay. And now over to the amazing Liz. So just tell us a little bit about yourself. Give us a bit of history and go for that, Liz.
My name's Liz. I've been investigating probably getting on for 20 years now, I think. I've been sensitive since I was little. I had experiences when I was little going out with my parents, and I developed it from the age of 17, so I've been developing for a few years now. And my first ever paranormal investigation was for a laugh with a mate, as a lot of us did. And I got totally hooked, and I've been going ever since, really.
But one of the most other interesting things about Liz, which we've discussed on previous shows when we've had Liz on, but was one of your past jobs.
Oh, my forensic science background. Is that what you're talking about? Yeah. I try and use that in investigations. I always describe myself as a skeptical medium. I don't like to jump to conclusions that I haven't read it somewhere. I'm not picking it up from other sources. I've trained as an archaeologist, so I can read a building. So I do try and not get influenced by physical stuff, and I try to read as little as possible when I go to a location.
Which I think is incredible because from the job, forensic science. So Liz had to go into crime scenes, etc. So she's using her mind, she's using her skills, and her techniques. So she's taken that aspect of her career, and now she's into the paranormal. She has the most amazing ability of being a medium, etc. So she's loaded the deck in her favour. And sometimes there are certain cases which we'll go on to where Liz becomes a little bit scared when it comes to certain things. We'll cover that in a second. But she's loaded the deck in her favour because she's got the logical mind, she's got the forensic science mind, she's got all this amazing ability from her forensic science, going at crimes, and also she can be a medium and all that sort of as well. So that's great. So these are the two guests. These are the two amazing guests.
I do have to say one thing about Liz that you really have to watch. She does know how to hide a body, so don't get on her bad side. But really important.
She also knows how to dig up a body as well.
Yeah, and rehide it. Yeah. Scary, really scary.
So if anybody out there that's got a body that needs hiding, revisiting, drop Liz a quick email. I'm sure she'll help you out, and she'll obviously talk to the body as well while you're trying to either hide it or moving it. But no, so you girls have been out in the industry for a long time. I've known you for quite a few years, but this weekend, you two and one of my other friends, who's an absolutely lovely guy, who has a fascination with foam mattresses, Matthew, were at certain locations. And I believe the first location you were at last weekend was at the Jamaica Inn, which I have visited. I had a weird experience.
I think everybody's had at least one weird experience there. I've stayed there twice, and both times we had a lot of strange things happen. In the haunted room, I had the SLS camera, somebody at the foot of the bed, and then somebody in the little dressing area. So I slept with my lights on that night, as did Matt on this trip, which I'll say that to embarrass him in case he's listening.
But Matt can be a bit of a scaredy. Not being nasty, because I love it. No, but
he's getting better.
I must admit that the guy's
challenging himself.
He has the I describe Matt as this guy that is a bit like a newborn, as I describe it. He's so open to everything, but he wants to learn. And once he's learned, he will just progress and progress. And I think that's one of the biggest things about Matt is he's coming in it with fresh ideas, fresh beliefs, and he's absolutely loving it, isn't he?
Yes, and he's great fun to investigate with. Just great fun. And he's getting very technical, too. He's getting a little like you that way with being the techie guy. So you might have some competition on your hands there.
Well, we'll talk. We'll talk on the equipment front at some point. I'm sure I'll give him a few pointers. And I must admit, when I've investigated with Matt, that's one of the subjects which Matt constantly bombards me with questions when I'm operating equipment, or I've got equipment in my case, and what does this do, what does that do? And I'm happy to sit with him. I'm happy to talk to anybody about equipment, because that is my passion. But Matt's absolutely a lovely guy, and big shout out to Matt. So you went to Jamaica Inn. How did the investigation come about? Were you there just for the spontaneous, or were you actually going on an event, etc.?
We actually went on an event. Laurie suggested going down to Cornwall, because I know Laurie really loves Cornwall, and found out that Bodmin and Jamaica Inn were running consecutive investigations. So thought we'd make a weekend of it, and we stayed in Jamaica Inn for the Friday night and the Saturday night. So that was really cool, and I'm so pleased that Laurie invited me along, because it was a great weekend.
Which rooms were you at the Jamaica Inn?
5 and 6.
So you got the little stairs, you've got the little landing, you got one room and one room in front.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
which are the most haunted rooms in the Jamaica Inn, if I'm not wrong. Which is amazing. If you ever watch any videos when they talk about the most haunted active locations in the Jamaica Inn, you always have that little bit where people walk up a couple of stairs and they look down this little corridor. There's a couple of little windows on one side, and then there's one room, and there's one room at the end. Those are the most haunted rooms in the Jamaica Inn. So you guys drove down there.
You
turned up. What was your first impressions of the location? Because it slightly changed when I first turned. Because when I first went to the Jamaica Inn, it was on the main road.
Yeah.
So instead of now, you have to come off and then go round, and then you turn up, and it's like off the main road. When I first went, oh God, so many years ago, the Jamaica Inn was on the main run down to Cornwall.
Yeah, well, that's how it came about, because it was on the coaching route. So when they put the A30 in, they put a cutting in, so you actually kind of come off on a little loop, a bit like the Skirrid. If people have been to the Skirrid Inn, you come off the main A road onto a little, almost like a little lay-by, I guess.
Which is good. It's good for paranormal investigation because there's not that much traffic going through.
Right.
No. You do hear the odd truck go past, but we certainly didn't get any contamination while we were doing the investigation, which was brilliant.
But so you pull off that little loop, you go around the loop, and then you pull into the Jamaica, and it's an amazing location because there's a cemetery literally a little way across up on the hill.
Don't know.
Yeah, I've never even noticed that. Every time I've been there, I've been so excited.
Jamaica Inn, just down where there's a bus shelter. I believe there is a cemetery just behind that.
Oh, right. I know of the bottomless lake, which is a little walk along one of the lanes opposite, which is where the Excalibur was supposed to have been presented by the Lady of the Lake. I have walked down there in the past, and that's pretty cool. That's an atmospheric place.
Cool. So you turn up. You got Jamaica Inn. I'm going to ask you to talk for a little while because somebody just knocked on my door. So just tell me about your initial experiences, and I'll be back in 2 seconds.
Okay. Well, first off, the investigation wasn't your typical public investigation. There was a lot of equipment. They let us work together and do what we wanted to do and use our equipment as well. It was really, really well done. So props to Corinne, Colin, and Peter for putting on a really, really good evening. How many people do you think were there, Liz? Maybe.
I think maybe 20-ish.
20? Okay. Yeah, I'd say it was a good number of people. But we started out in the stable area, and I had been in there because it's part of the Smugglers Museum, which is really neat to see if you ever get a chance to. But we started out in there, and it was kind of quiet for the first couple of minutes. And then all of a sudden, one of the pieces of equipment went off, and I don't even remember what the name of the equipment was.
It was ER1 or something. It had the temperature, atmospherics, REM, all built into one little box.
Was it like a square thing, like a rubber thing all the way around it?
It was a little rectangular black box with flashy blue lights on it.
We do know our technical stuff, but that was one I'd never seen before.
I'm a medium. I don't go into stuff.
But it was really interesting because it almost sounded like Morse code. And as we got in and started asking questions, and Liz started getting some really interesting things, and we discovered he was a U.S. paratrooper from the 82nd Airborne. And Liz got his name and the way the lights reacted. We were fairly certain that was the name. But I can't remember the last name you came up with. That was really hard to pronounce.
I'll think about it. I can't remember off the top. You know how I work. I say things and then they disappear.
Something like Winthrop or whatever. But what was really interesting, he jumped into Normandy. He also jumped into the Operation Market Garden in Holland. And I know a lot about the 101st Airborne, but nothing really about the 82nd Airborne. But there were 3 girls there who were Dutch, and they, of course, knew that history really well. And the one Dutch girl started talking to him about the battles in Arnhem and I can't say the name of the other place. And we all got very emotional, and the reaction from the device was incredible as she was talking. And it came out that he lost his life in the big battle. I think it was the battle for the bridge in Holland. So I spent about 5 hours the other night. There's over 10,000 soldiers buried in the cemetery, the American cemetery near Arnhem, and I haven't been able to find him yet. So
I've actually I've actually been to that cemetery, and it's probably one of the most, I don't know if it's haunted, but it's one of the most, I don't know if it's haunted, but it's one of the most, I don't know if it's haunted, but it's one of the most, I don't know if it's haunted, but it's one of the most, I don't know if it's haunted, but it's one of the most, I don't know if it's haunted, but it's one of the most, I don't know if it's haunted, but it's one of the most, I don't know if it's haunted, but it's one of the most, I don't know if it's haunted, but it's one of the most, I don't know if it's haunted, but it's one of the most, I don't know if it's haunted, but it's one of the most, I don't know if it's haunted, but it's one of the most, I don't know if it's haunted, but it's one of the most, I don't know if it's haunted, but it's one of the most, I don't know if it's haunted, but it's one of the most, I don't know if it's haunted, but it's one of the most, I don't know if it's haunted, but it's one of the most, I don't know if it's haunted, but it's one of the most, I don't know if it's haunted, but it's one of the most, I don't know if it's haunted, but it's one of the most, I don't know if it's haunted, but it's one of the most, I don't know if it's haunted, but it's one of the most, I don't know if it's haunted I think one of the most moving places I've ever been to. I've been to a few cemeteries in Belgium and France, war cemeteries, but the one at Arnhem, you go there and there's all these literally lines of perfectly white stone headstones in perfect lines, stretching for everything, and it's one of the most peaceful places I've ever been to. And people say about going to stone circles and this, that, and the other, but I know it's weird, but going to that type of memorial just was so peaceful for me. And the ties into where you guys were, because where you were in that neck of the woods, some of the fleet that went over that day came from that area, from the ports further south from you, and they were going across from that to Normandy because it was the shortest route. Because people often say about the Normandy and the D-Day is, it must have been from the southeast, but no, it wasn't. A lot of the fleet came from the southwest because they didn't want to come direct, because that's where the Germans would have thought it could be. Right. So they came round and down. So a lot of it was coming from the Cornwall, Devon area.
We were really lucky because Corinne really knows her stuff when it comes to the history of connections with the Jamaica Inn. So she's been able to tell us an awful lot that links in with what we got that evening as well. So that was really interesting. Matthew Wilmslow was the...
Wilmslow, that was it. Yeah, I went through all the W's. It took me 5 hours to go through all the W's looking for a Matthew from Mississippi, but I even took it further than that. I looked under any of the W's for him, so I'm going to go out further just in case it wasn't, the pronunciation or something was maybe a little bit different. But it just seemed like, Peter, who was the team leader in that section of the investigation, he said it really well when he said it just had to have been the right conditions. There was a Yank there, and there were the Dutch girls there, and it's just like it was just the perfect storm for him to come through and talk to us. So it was really, really powerful. I haven't listened to the audio that I took that night, and Matt filmed with camera and audio, so we have to go through that. But I'm really curious. I don't know Morse code, but I would love to know if it is Morse code.
Yeah. Well, I have a little app that I found that basically you can play what you think is Morse code, and you play in and it listens to it, and then it will determine whether it's Morse code for a start, but then it will also determine what it says. It's a free app. You can download it on any phone.
Oh,
that might be an idea. Just have a look at that. I will talk to you after the show, and I'll give you the routine of that, because I've used that a couple of times. Funny enough, one of the locations I used that was at the Explosion Museum, where I investigated with Liz, where we had the tapping, and it sounded like Morse code. So I downloaded it for that, but it wasn't anything that was coming through that was clear at all. So, but it's a very good app, because I tested it just tapping away randomly, and then tapping away what it actually meant, and the app actually picks up on exactly.
Oh, cool!
So that's a little bit of a tool I use occasionally, particularly when it comes to Morse code. So you guys are there, you're staying there, which is unbelievable. The place is amazing. So you're on the investigation. You're picking up on this soldier. What else happened? Tell me what else happened on the night.
Well, it was really interesting because we left the stable area to go off and do our other vigils, and we didn't get too much, to be honest. I picked up the odd bit and pieces here and there, but after the second vigil, Pete came back to us and said we had absolutely nothing in the stable area. They had the same pieces of equipment. They were obviously asking out to Matthew because that's what we'd come up with in the first vigil, and they got no response whatsoever. And the same for the third vigil, until the very end when he said, "Shall I bring the same ladies back?" and then he got a response on the piece of equipment. So in free time, Laurie, myself, and the Dutch ladies went back to the stable area, and of course everybody piled in because they were interested to see this interaction. And we got a little bit of an interaction to start with, and people started calling him a hero, and I really got the impression he did not like that at all.
Well, that's quite profound, really, because obviously recently we've had the anniversary of D-Day, and every interview I've seen where the TV people said, "You're a hero, you're a hero, you're a hero," and every single one of these absolutely amazing veterans that were there on the day said, "I am not a hero. The heroes are the ones that are not standing here."
Yeah. Well, he was obviously one who fell.
Yeah, exactly. But I can understand that being a military person.
Yeah.
You don't like to be called a hero because you're doing what you're taught and it's your job.
Yeah, he was just doing his job, but the Dutch lady was saying thank you for helping liberate Holland from the Nazis, and we were getting quite emotional because you could feel the emotion of him reacting to her saying thank you, and it obviously meant a lot to her. It was really interesting, and as people started to filter away, again we were getting stronger and stronger responses. And I have to say that the Dutch lady was incredible. It was her first.
Was she sensitive, or was she just interested? And
she was sceptical until we started to get the interaction, and then when we went back and got the same interaction again, she was blown away. She said afterwards it's going to take a while to process what happened, but she threw herself into it. She was talking to him like we're talking to you. She was brilliant.
Brilliant.
And she was coming out with all these names and the cemeteries, and we promised that if we could find him, we'd go and visit him, because I've got a great uncle who's buried in the Venray cemetery in Holland as well. So
I have a relative that's in the Eeps, in World War One, and I must admit, it sits upstairs. I have his Bible where he survived the first day because of shrapnel, and the Bible has the shrapnel in it, but he died on the second day. And I have the Bible upstairs. So those sort of experiences, they last in generations and families, and it's amazing that you said you had an American. You had somebody that was sensitive, that could hear and interact, and obviously you have the Dutch, which is basically where they were. All you needed to finish it was somebody that was French.
Right.
Or French or Canadian, can be the same thing.
Yeah, he just wanted to interact. I mean, even when we weren't talking, the lights were flashing as if he was saying, "Look, I'm still here. I want to talk more." It was really interesting.
So this activity was in the coaching area.
Yeah.
Yes.
In the stable area where the cobbled floor is.
Yeah. And what? So how long did that last for? Was it a long interaction, or was it a brief thing after when you came back to it, or was it something different?
Well, the first vigil was 45 minutes, and it pretty much kicked off right from the start. As soon as I started picking Matthew up and started picking up the paratrooper, he jumped into Holland, and it kicked off from there. So it lasted pretty much, I would say, 40 minutes.
Wow.
We walked away for a few minutes because they wanted us to try something else in another room, and then we went back in, and it started right up again. So.
Okay, so basically you've had the experiences, you were getting the interaction, you then went off somewhere, you then came back shortly after, and it carried on as well.
Yeah.
So it was basically realise you were gone, and then wait for you to come back to carry on.
Yeah, and then when we came back after all the other vigils in free time as well, it kicked off straight again. So,
Liz, being a medium, being the one of the best mediums I've experienced in this field, what were you picking up? What was the things in your eyes that was more interesting to it? Was it the names? Was it the smells? Because I know you do the whole thing. What was the thing that was like, wow, this is incredible?
I think the fact that he was so upfront with his name. I mean, you worked with me before, and I struggle with names sometimes.
Yeah.
I walked in and I sat down, and almost immediately I got Matthew. And as soon as we said Matthew out loud and people started talking to Matthew, we got the energy increased dramatically. And I just got the sense of pride that he had over what he did, and the sense of brotherhood with the Dutch ladies. It was almost a shared experience, him parachuting in, and then with the Dutch people being so glad to see them and them fighting on behalf of the Dutch, really.
Yeah. Did you get an actual location where he came in? Did you get that close? Did it tell you an area? Because if you can find an area, you can normally find the memorial for that, because I've been to Belgium quite a lot, and there's a lot of, in certain areas, like there's the Canadian area, there's the French, there's the US, and this, that, and the other. There are various different locations because that's the main areas. But everybody now, especially with the moment we'll see in TV programs, you could have been anywhere as a paratrooper, because it all went Pete Tong from the moment the green light to get out, because you could have been anywhere on those gliders or those planes because the weather conditions changed and whatever. So
we did ask him that.
I actually picked up that he didn't jump on D-Day. He wasn't part of the first wave. He was part of the second wave a bit later. So he didn't jump on actual D-Day.
And I confirmed that in that the 82nd, very few of the 82nd went in on the first day. So I was able to confirm that.
Oh, okay, that's cool. So you backed it up, which actually
yes,
that's great. That's what we want, because there's personal experiences and personal stories are great, but if you can back up that with physical documented evidence, like this company didn't go until this date, this company wasn't there on the first day, and this is what you've got initially documented, and then you can back it up with what you find afterwards, which is great.
Mm-hmm. That was really nice to find that after she said that I'd written that down. So
that's cool.
Yeah.
And I definitely got the impression that he was at Arnhem. Was it the Bridge Too Far they called it?
Bridge Too Far, the one of the biggest British losses and failures in World War II, because these guys landed, they took the bridge, and they didn't thought the bridge in Arnhem was going to be manned by derelict army Germans that would have given up a thing, but it was actually manned and armed by probably one of the most hard German bands of soldiers or divisions, whatever you want to call it. The intelligence failed at that particular moment in time, and sadly there was a great big loss, and the Germans kept the bridge. But we kept the bridge for a long period of time we kept the bridge because there was a small enclave of British paratroopers that kept that end of the bridge for a little bit of time, surrounded by the Germans, until they eventually weren't surrounded by the Germans, and the Germans took the bridge back.
I know I came up with another place name, but I can't remember it now.
He was in, I think, and I'm going to say it wrong, it looks like Eindhoven. And it was a huge battle for the 101st and the 82nd were involved in it.
Right. Anybody listening or that's in the chat room or listening tonight, if that rings a bell, or anybody's got any history on that they know that there was a division that had association with both Arnhem and that battle, get in touch, drop a comment in the chat room, because that would be very, very interesting. Sorry, Laurie.
No, that's okay. I know more about the 101st because I'm a big fan of Band of Brothers, so I know a lot about them, but not the 82nd.
The thing about the Band of Brothers, I'm talking about the TV series, do you feel it's very bad that probably 90% of that cast was actually British?
No, actually, because you never would have known it until now. I'm sitting here watching the telly going, oh, he was on Band of Brothers and he was an American. I mean, look at Damian Lewis. He played Richard Winter. Yeah, and he was like amazing.
If you look at Richard Dexter Felix, all these guys, everybody's got a great American accent, but most of the English fan they're from kids' TV, soaps, whatever that progressed. So it's amazing to watch Band of Brothers and these amazing Americans. But when you realise, they're not Americans.
But they did it really well, and they had to go through boot camp too. Yeah. So I think that's pretty impressive that a bunch of actors went through that.
One of the most amazing scenes in Band of Brothers, it's probably 2 or 3 episodes in, where they have to take the 4 German bunkers in that line.
Yes, I've been there.
I was going to say I've been there because that backs onto a golf course, and I went on a golf holiday to that area, and I was stood on this back tee, and I was like waiting for somebody to tee off, and I was looking at it, I was thinking, God, that looks so familiar, and it was literally the shot when you look down towards the 4 bunkers, and I was like,
that's pretty cool.
That's the location from the Band of Brothers. So I finished my game of golf. I went in the clubhouse, and as soon as I walked in the clubhouse, there's all these pictures on the wall. And I'm like, that's right. And I would literally, the I think it was about the 15th tee of this golf course, was that angle where the guys got in behind that row of hedges, and they looked down at the 4 bunkers.
Yeah.
And that was the shot, because I was stood on the sea, and it looked exactly the same. I was like, that I know from somewhere. It reminded me, and it was only when I got in that I realised. But
that's cool. That's really cool.
Amazing, and so heartwarming that these amazing people at such a young age did this stuff.
Very young. I took my stepdad, who's retired military, and my 2 stepbrothers, also retired military. One used to be in the 82nd, of course, back in the 90s. And we went over there and did a private tour. And we started the tour in the front garden of the farmhouse we were staying in, because one of the planes had been shot down on D-Day right in the garden. And boy, oh boy, in the morning, I'd get up about 5 a.m. and the fog would be rolling in. I'd think, oh, I wish I had my spirit box with me. I wish I had my K2 meter with me, because you're going to get something.
You get to those points where, because I've done it in certain locations, where you go, I'd wish I had them, but then again, I don't wish I had them, because this moment is more important.
Yes.
Doing what we do in the field. It's just respectful, which is one of the key things. I know myself, yourself, and Liz agree with this. There's a whole lot about respect in this field. Yeah. You have to respect what we're talking to, what we're trying to interact with, because at the end of the day, they were human at one point, and that's the key thing.
And like you said, very young men.
Very young.
Yeah.
You think majority of these guys were anywhere between 17 and 21?
Mm-hmm. Some had never been off the farm.
Yeah. You look at what yourself did, or I did, or Liz did when we were between 17 and 21. These guys are up to their in whatever, trying to survive, trying to basically just make it through the next 10 minutes, the next 30 minutes, because potentially they could die. You look at what we did, and it's amazing.
A lot different.
It's incredible to think. Yeah. And hats off. I'll take my hat off because I'm wearing a hat. Hats off to those people. I totally respect, particularly at this time of year with the anniversary just happened.
Yes.
And we're talking about it, and it's an amazing what these guys did. And I agree with everything that every single one of those veterans that I saw on TV saying they're not heroes. It's the ones that didn't survive that are the heroes. So hats off to those guys.
I just think about what they... Oh, sorry.
I think they're all heroes, the ones that survived and the ones that didn't.
The problem is
they ran towards
that survived don't believe they're heroes because their fellow colleagues or their band of brothers, as they say, they're not heroes. So they feel that they're not heroes. And I can understand that totally.
It was just the fact that they ran towards stuff that we...
Oh, yeah.
There's no way I could get my nose to go in the direction towards the bullets that are flying towards me.
Exactly. It's crazy to feel. And it gets me quite emotional when you think about it. And you look at these programs that have been on, and I watched a few of them. Well, no, I watched all, and you think these guys, 17 to whatever, they haven't experienced this. They've just been in boot camp. They've flown in from the States, or they're English. They have no idea what's going on. No. And you've got these people. I'll tell you what, we've got this idea. We're gonna launch a tank 2 miles out at sea, which will float to get you to the beach. I don't want to sound this as being jolly, but this is obviously how it was spin to these guys. And there's this program which shows underwater footage of these tanks in completely and utterly undamaged states, just in lines as they go through, because they thought they could do it, but they didn't take on account the rough weather of the rough sea. So these things sunk like a tank would thing. Yeah. And these poor people perished in those things. So
I have to say it was a total honour being able to connect with somebody like Matthew, and be able to tell some of his story, and hopefully we can elaborate on the story, and then it's something that Laurie and I, and certainly the Dutch ladies, will never ever forget.
No, definitely not.
Okay. So you obviously you did this amazing stuff. You connected with this amazing energy, the spirit, whatever. Did anything else happen on that night, or did it just end and you just go to your haunted room and nothing else happened?
I think you got a few in the one haunted room where you were getting the woman who'd been beaten up and taken out onto the moor.
Yeah, I'd forgotten about that. Yeah, it was a lady who'd been beaten by several different men in the one room, and they thought she was dead, and taken her body, what they thought, out onto the moor. Only she wasn't dead. She'd actually died out on the moor.
Wow. So you've gone from this most amazing historical fact to then getting to some sort of pickup from the location, a tragic occasion where something got attacked and then taken out onto the moor.
Yeah.
Wow.
Liz felt like somebody was hitting her on the, grabbing her and I think slapping even on the face. And we had the fleur, and we were able to see it. It almost looked like a handprint on her face, which was kind of cool.
You were capturing with a thermal imaging camera, which a fleur is. Just for those people listening who doesn't know what fleur is, but I can guarantee that most people on the show knowing me, a fleur is obviously one of the best thermal imaging size of camera you can get. So
it's one of my favorite pieces of kit.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I agree with you that I've got several different fleurs, but they do the best thermal imaging software, and it's very, very good. And people that have listened to the show can listen back and hear me talk about more on that bits of equipment. So you were picking up on this, but nothing else really happened until the next time?
Yeah, I don't think we had in our group. That was pretty much. I mean, the big thing was Matthew, and that happened again, and like Liz said, in the free time. So that was really the highlight for us. Did
you call Matthew after that, or anywhere during the evening or into the morning before you went off to your next location during the day the next day?
No, not at all.
Okay.
It was just in the one area.
Do you reckon it was more of a group, like you said, you had an American, you had an English medium, like spiritualist, and then you had the Dutch. Would you reckon it was the combination that triggered it?
Yeah, it was certainly to do with the energy within the group. Yeah, definitely.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
We did when we were at the very end, a complete group in the bar. A few things picked up there, but you got that there was the somebody in the snug, and Corinne confirmed that used to be where the landlord would sit. That was like the room for the landlord. So that was kind of neat too. So we got some stuff there, but that was still kind of quiet.
Okay. So you've had this amazing night. You've had a sleep. You've picked up...
Except for Matt. He didn't sleep.
Right. What happened to Matt?
Nothing.
Matt's not here to defend himself. He's probably not even listening. He probably won't even listen to this. But what happened to Matt?
I don't think anything happened to Matt. I think he just psyched himself out.
Yeah.
I can guarantee. I tell you what, Liz and Laurie, I can guarantee I can describe what Matt told you the next morning. The lights on. I didn't sleep. Every creak. I was scared. What's it?
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah. That I can guarantee. But I can guarantee there are people listening to that, or going to listen to this, depending whether you listen to live or a podcast, will basically have memories that were their first times or occasions where something's happened, and you will leave the light. Because I will openly admit it's happened to me, where I can remember one time. At a place at a location, where was it? Banbury Cross. Stayed at a hotel in Banbury Cross, the most haunted room. We'd done an investigation. I was tired. It was 4:00 in the morning. Got back to my room. I sat on the bed and I heard this noise, and it sounded like somebody walked in the room, dropped a tool bag, and I literally grabbed my bag. I hadn't unpacked. And I grabbed my bag and I slept in reception.
I slept in my car.
I knew I couldn't sleep in that room. It was okay. I might sound it a little bit, but it was like 4 or 5 hours. It was like 2 or 3 hours. But literally, I heard this noise. I literally went, nope, not having this. I didn't even ruffle the bed. I didn't even steal all the things in the hotel room that most people do. I just picked my bag up because I hadn't unbagged it, and just walked down the reception, found a sofa, dumped it, and went to the night porter. Went, wake me up in the morning.
I have slept in my car rather than sleep in the Ram. So yeah, I've done it.
I think everybody that's done it, whether you're a hardened, seasoned, or you're a beginner, everybody does it. But forget about that. So that's just taking the mickey out of myself and whatever. So the next day, you head down to Bodmin Jail.
Yes.
Another amazing location, which I've done and I've spoken to quite a few people about. So you obviously get down there. Tell us a bit about what initially happened, any activity, what went on that night.
Well, I was initially incredibly disappointed with what they've shut off.
Me too.
Because it's been turned into a hotel. So,
yeah, the Russians are building it into a hotel, yes?
Yeah, the 2 long rows of cells are shut off.
Really?
Yes. The area where they have the wooden gibbet set up inside, that is cordoned off and is now part of the tea room, which is out of bounds during an investigation. So you've literally got the landings with a couple of rooms off. So that was really disappointing, because I know the areas that I've experienced things and seen things on YouTube and stuff were the areas that were out of bounds. Yeah. So yeah, that was disappointing. Again, it was a really well run investigation for such a big group. That was it was well organised. Yeah, I had one small incident.
Small? Tell it.
I take, by the way, Laurie is laughing and you say it was a small thing. Essentially, it wasn't, Liz.
Well, I don't think I've moved that quickly for a very long time.
I don't think I've seen you move that quickly.
Well, put it this way, I remember
since Drakelow.
No. I would say there's probably one experience with Liz which always reminds me. It's the Scary Inn. Myself and the lovely MJ. We're sitting there and we have the thermal imaging. You're sitting on a puff.
Yeah.
For the Americans, a stool where you put your feet, like a chair thing, no thing. And you sat there, and this thing was coming through the doorway right next to you, and it was I think MJ has the footage. There was a camera right behind it, and it was like, no, turn the light off, no, give me a hand. No, turn the light off. No.
I've heard that story too. It always makes me laugh.
Yeah, you shouting, turn the light off. No, help me, turn the light off. Help me. No.
Oh.
Yeah, it was similar. It was similar.
So what? No, okay.
But the best part
with you, I wasn't there. The lovely listeners wasn't there. Tell us what happened. Go on, give us a
moment.
Moment.
For a small fee, I will give up the recordings of us singing bawdy songs to the spirits at Bodmin Jail.
I tell you what,
Liz knows some good ones.
Laurie, you know the price. I will claim the exclusive rights for Parasearch Radio to play those recordings. You just name it. I'll buy you Twinkies. I will gamble for you. I will do
a bag of Fritos, and they're yours.
I'll tell you what. When I come back from Vegas, I'll bring you a bag of Fritos.
Boy, you're easy. That's sneaky. See, Liz, you're in trouble now.
I am in trouble.
You are in a lot of trouble. Yeah.
Yeah, okay, so Bodmin has mannequins all over the place. And a lot have a thing about mannequins, myself included.
Where it comes from.
Well, we were sat at the end of one of the hallways where there were two male mannequins force-feeding a female mannequin. And we were sat there and we were asking out. And at one point, I thought the shadow of the mannequin moved. The mannequin didn't. The shadow of the mannequin moved. I was in the process of talking myself out of it, going, "Oh, it was somebody else's shadow. There's emergency lights on. There's people with torches. It must be somebody around us." And then I got rushed from the mannequin. So this shadow that was behind the mannequin rushed towards me and went straight through me. I moved quite quickly. Yeah.
Scared the crap out of all of us.
Just so you know, Liz has two knees and new knees, so she does move very quickly now.
Well, not for a very long time, but they got a good workout there.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, you move a lot quickly. You motor now.
Yeah, I was sat at a table, and before I knew what was happening, I was halfway down the corridor.
Yeah, she looked like an Olympic sprinter.
Right, okay.
And when do you think of that with Liz? Come on, we never think of Olympics
sprinter
and Liz in the same sentence.
Yeah, exactly. So is this recorded? This is on audio, or?
I think Matt has it on video and audio.
Right. So what would Matt want? He'd probably want
probably Britney Spears tickets.
I was going to say Britney Spears tickets, or a proper foam mattress, because he has this thing about foam mattresses.
See, I didn't know that. There's a story there. You're going to have to tell me.
Oh no, that was at the Monday. I was listening to some audio from you guys at the Scare It In. And I had a scare, and obviously Matt was laying on one of the beds with somebody else, and there was a few people. And all of a sudden, Matt and another person were talking about foam mattresses and memory foam. And all the conversation during this, what I could hear on the audio, was about memory foam mattresses. Matt was going into great detail about the different mattresses.
We do talk about some weird stuff on investigations.
At least it wasn't goat impersonations.
Exactly.
Notice I waited till the last 6 minutes to get that in there.
Yeah, it wasn't anything to do with Britney Spears or
Gollum.
His other passions. But it was no. I just remember listening to this footage for like 2 hours of Matt and everybody else talking about memory foam mattresses. I went, oh, this guy has a fascination with memory foam.
I don't think I want to know why.
So yeah,
too much information.
I'll talk to Matt. I'll offer him a foam mattress pillow or something like that to get the footage, and we'll do an exclusive on the radio. But we'll be respectful, Liz. Don't worry.
That's okay. It happens to the best of us. It was just.
It does. I must admit.
It was Liz the mannequin that freaked me out.
Yeah, Liz knows me about mannequins as well. Liz knows me where I will freak out to the silliest thing. Laurie knows this. The same. Once you investigate with people more than once, and this is the key thing that I find, which I've spoken to about in the past, and I know MJ's spoken about this. You have people at your back, knows your movements, know when you're not acting right, knows when you are doing this, that, and the other. And on the investigation, that's very important. Don't you agree?
Yes.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
I think that and the energy of the people, the trust in the energy, because you can laugh and carry on. And sometimes, like you said, listening back to the evidence, you're like, oh my gosh, I can't believe we said that. And you start listening to that and not actually listening for other things. Mm-hmm. But that energy causes other things to happen. And that trust that you have with the people that you're investigating with, they're not going to fake something. And it's super important.
I think one of the good things about it, and Ray speaks openly about it, that she counts me as one of her eyes when she's out investigating, because I know when she changes, and you know, Laurie, and as well as you, Liz, and vice versa. She knows when you change or whatever anybody changes. You have to have that person when you're in an investigation, when potentially an energy or a spirit gets a little bit too close, there is changes in personalities.
Yeah. And it's not very often I will jump. I'm not a jumpy person, as you know, Carl.
Not at all.
You don't jump because you have your little stool that you put down there, you sit there. The only time you jump is when they get a little bit too close and they get a little bit touchy-feely.
Yeah, well, it went through me. It didn't touch me, it went through me. So, that freaked me out. I will openly admit that I was freaked.
Yeah, but you rebounded quickly, because then you were like back in the seat again, and it's like, okay, let's try this some more. And that's when we tried the glass divination. That didn't do anything, and then we started the singing. You started the singing. I'm like a bull moose in heat when I sing. So
just for English people, that's a sheep in heat.
Or a goat. The tamer version of it.
A goat in heat, or a cow.
A goat. There's that goat word again. But so she was singing English songs that were like old folk songs, and you could feel the energy changing. It was something else. We didn't get a lot, or at least I haven't listened to all the evidence yet, but we didn't get a lot on there. But still.
So I get the impression that Jamaica Inn, amazing. Bodmin Jail, not so amazing because the location sort of shrunk.
Yeah, I was kind of hoping. Is that about it? Yeah, I was kind of hoping the fact that they were renovating, because the whole theory about renovations are messing around with the building will stir it up. It didn't really, from my point of view anyway.
Well, and I was excited because I don't know if you saw, there was a clip on Paranormal Captured of an apparition in Jamaica Inn. And when I saw that, I'm like, oh, I'm going to be there soon. And I hope we can recreate that. And then, not Jamaica Inn, Bodmin Jail. And we couldn't even get to that part of the jail to try to recreate it.
Just for our listeners and everybody else that's listening, by the way, Laurie Shaffer, the person you just heard, she's one of the paranormal investigators on Paranormal Capture that was on recently, 6 or 7 episodes on PIC TV, and hopefully there'll be a second series. But she was one of the experts that was looking.
There's no such thing as an expert.
No, I don't like using that, but I was trying to think of another.
No such thing, unless you're dead, and then you might be an expert. But then come back and talk.
Okay, not an expert, but an
authority in the field.
No, I would say
we gave our opinions. Talking heads, they called us.
An eager viewer at Paranormal, looking at footage and giving their views and comments on this. And so, and you would have seen Laurie, and great to see her on TV and everything like that, because I've worked with her for a long time. And hopefully there'll be a season 2 for you guys. But yeah, if that on Paranormal Capture, you can still catch it on Catch Up. So, and see MJ and Laurie and everybody on that. We are sorry girls, we are coming to the end of the show. I better do a quick wrap up, because I'll start getting hounded and saying you're on your own and all this sort of stuff. So thank you very much. Liz and Laurie, where can people find you? Where can people get in touch with you? Where can people see your stuff that you do on social media and everything like that?
Well, I'm on Twitter, and I'm also part of a team called Warts Paranormal, and we have a Facebook page right now. So that's it for me. Okay. I kind of laying low.
She's not lying low. She's just hiding in the shadows. She's not lying low. She's just in the shadows. You can find her. Trust me, you can find her. I think she's lying low from the inline revenue and work that out. Why
don't tell anyone.
She's been in the UK so long, but that is a joke, by the way. Anybody from the inland revenue?
Yes, it's not true. Don't listen to him.
That is a joke. And Liz, how can people get in touch with yourself?
I'm on Facebook. I have a Facebook page, Legwynis, Legwynis, which is my Wiccan name. I'm the definitive para-whore. If you want me to be a medium on your event, get in touch through Facebook, through email, whatever, and I will come and be your medium for the night.
There you go. I would just personally like to say before I wrap this show up and do the whole thing, thank you, ladies, for coming on. Always a pleasure talking to you. Can't wait to see people very, very soon and chat more, get to just crack more memories and have a good crack. And I love interviewing you, and I will get you guys, as I said to Liz and Laurie before, we'll get you back on the show. So thank you to the girls. And I would just like to thank everybody that's listening, everybody that's interacted in the chat room, because I can see the chat room has been flying around. No questions, really, just interacting with yourself, which is great because that's what the chat room's all about. So thank you very much. Thank you to Liz. Thank you to Laurie. Thank you. Another shout out to the lovely Sam, and our thoughts and everything are with you at this particular moment in time. Hopefully you'll be back with us soon. If not, you'll hear my dulcet tones next Thursday. I don't know who I'm interviewing because Sam's the boss. She organises it. I just turn up as a mouthpiece. But we'll advertise it soon. So
we love you, Sam.
Sam, we love you. So thank you very much. Enjoy the rest of your evening, whatever you do up until this weekend. And thank you, everybody that interacted on the promo Facebook Live. Hope everybody enjoyed that. I will be doing more of that. Maybe not in the Texas outfit. Maybe I will put on a Indians, Buckeyes, or
yes.
I think I might just do a theme of American sports teams and do lives before the show. But anyway, thank you very much, ladies. Thank you, everybody listening. See you next week. And remember, there's a roundup on a Monday night. Kerry will do a roundup. Go into there and remember there's 3 words that Kerry likes, which is, I can't remember them now. I know share, like, and subscribe. Anyway, I'm just going to end the show now. I can't remember what the it's too late on a Thursday night. Love you lots. Good night, ladies.
Thank you.
Bye, thanks.
Bye, night.
Bye. Night.
Thank you for listening. Don't forget to join us for more shows throughout the week. Find us on Facebook, Twitter, and the World Wide Web to keep up to date with all the shows right here on Parasearch Radio.